It is an honor to be here for this important conference. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to participate. This is I guess, an international audience. I guess the international part of it is taken over because you do have a C instead of an S here, which makes me very nervous. I'm just kidding. Started, I sort of a little bit light. Great to be here at ASU. And I appreciate what the PLuS Alliance represents, bringing together the next generation of thinkers from across the globe. This exchange matters, and I think we need it now more than ever. Tonight, I will be flying on a red-eye back to Washington, D.C. I don't need to tell anyone in this room that these are very important times in this country and in our world. The United States, along with Israel, of course, did engage in military actions against Iran. Not only killing the Ayatollah, but apparently the top leadership of the country. We don't, as a member of Congress, as of right now, I don't know what comes next. I did watch the president's pre-recorded videos that he presented over the weekend. I did watch the Secretary of Defense. Yes, I still call it Secretary of Defense, not War. That's the war, the official title is still Secretary of Defense, Secretary Hegseth, and I saw General Kane and the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, their presentation this morning. And I have to say, as I sit here right now talking to you, we're all, I'm a member of Congress, but many of us here are citizens of the United States of America. I'm still not quite sure what the objective is of this current action. And that is why the vote that we'll have this week in the United States Congress asserting the role of Congress, asserting the War Powers Act is a very, very important vote to give this administration the full and fair opportunity to present to Congress and therefore the American people what the plan is and what the objective is. Because at this, as we sit here right now, I don't feel that they have done that for the American people. And of course, we have lost 4 of our service members. As of this morning, a 4th service member has passed away in service to our country in this action, and we are praying for their families. And real quick, I just want to put my mayor hat on for those of you that are not from here or not affiliated with this university. This is an amazing university where we're at, Arizona State University, and probably a unique university in America and the globe. Before I was in Congress, I served for a long time as a city leader, as mayor and a member of the City Council. This is the largest university in the United States of America. Arizona, Phoenix, and this area is probably the fastest growing state in America. Maybe Texas and Arizona kind of compete for that. But we've had massive population growth over the last 40 years in this community. We don't have other major research universities in our community. This is it. And so this university has grown up along with this community. And there's probably no stronger relationship between a single university and the success of a community, the economic success and the relationship between Phoenix and the metropolitan area and this particular university. The academic success here is directly related to the economic success of our region. I just want to brag for a moment because we'll talk a little bit more about semiconductors, but we are the semiconductor leader in the United States of America, the most important industry for the advanced economy and for our military advancement as well. The most important industry. We have become the leading area in the entire country as we try to recapture more and more of that. There's a direct relationship between the success of this university, particularly the engineering school, and the decision of TSMC, the world's leading manufacturer of semiconductors, to invest now over $200 billion right here. So we are lucky to have ASU. It's a unique relationship, and I think we're very blessed to have that unique relationship in our community. As was mentioned in Congress, I do sit on the Foreign Affairs Committee and the Select Committee on the competition with the Chinese Communist Party. Those assignments remind me just how interconnected the United States is with the rest of the world, not as an abstraction, but as an operational reality. Our security, our economy, our ability to innovate, none of it exists in isolation. And no more is it more obvious than right here in Arizona, where the realities of a warmer, drier climate are having an immediate impact on America's national security. As was just mentioned, we need to make sure the semiconductor supply chain is secure. We make those here in America, so that way we can make sure that when they put them in our military systems, they are as safe as possible. We are the leading location in the United States for semiconductor. At the same time, we're dealing with an incredibly challenging issue, and that is our water security. The Colorado River, which provides water to 40 million people in the American Southwest and parts of Mexico, is the water tables for the Colorado River, Lake Mead and Lake Powell, are at historic lows right now, and the situation is getting worse. The situation on the Colorado River is dire. It's not a future problem, it's happening right now. It is a dire situation, and that connects directly to everything else that I'm going to talk about today. You can't build semiconductor manufacturing hub, you can't sustain a growing defense industrial base, you can't attract the companies and workers that our states needs if we do not have a strong, guaranteed water supply. Water security is economic security. Water security is national security because of what we do here in Arizona, what we build here in Arizona. That's why in my role in Congress, I push for federal investment in water recycling, groundwater replenishment, targeted infrastructure that treats water as the strategic resource that it is. Arizona as a whole has done better than any other state in the country on water conservation. We use less water today than we did 50 years ago when we were a much smaller state. We've done our part on conservation, but we need federal partners who understand the stakes. Today is the deadline for public comment on the federal government strategies for managing the future of the river. I've led my Arizona colleagues in Congress in telling the federal government the hard truth. Our upstream neighbors, particularly our friends in Colorado and Utah, are clinging to century-old legal positions that ignore the reality of the river we have today and the strategic importance of Arizona. We've become America's semiconductor capital. We're meeting increased demand from AI and defense companies. Hundreds of chip-making and supporting businesses have moved to the Phoenix metro area, including by, obviously, TSMC and, of course, Intel, which we've been so blessed to have here for decades before. They're building cutting-edge chips using everything from consumer electronics to the defense systems manufactured in Arizona and flown from our Air Force bases. Any plan for the future of the river has to take into account the reality on the ground, and that is the fact that Arizona is the leader in supplying these semiconductors to our national, industrial, and military base. I won't go any further than that, just to make that point. Water security is national security here in Arizona. Let me zoom out a little bit, because while Arizona fights an existential battle to protect our water security, the world isn't standing still. We are now 4 years into Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. 4 years this past week. What began as something many predicted with last week's has become one of the defining conflicts of our era, and the lessons for U.S. national security are profound. This president has attacked NATO, but the alliance has proven indispensable. Our partners have stepped up. New members have joined. The collective defense architecture held, and in many ways that has mattered. This is not an argument for complacency. It is an argument for investment. Alliances don't maintain themselves. They require leadership, resources, political will. But the national security strategy put out by this administration takes needlessly offensive and confrontational tone towards our European partners. Vance, Rubio, other administration officials have repeated this animosity as recently as the Munich Security Conference in the last few weeks and other high-level meetings. America's allies in the Indo-Pacific can't be overlooked either. Chinese Communist Party could at any time attack Taiwan. Our trilateral security partnership with UK and Australia, the AUKUS partnership, should deliver a powerful deterrence. But Trump for months has danced around his commitment to strengthening this critical alliance. The same is true of our trade frameworks. USMCA has made our economies in North America, Canada, Mexico, United States more independent in ways that serve our security interests. Building supply chains with friendly allies and countries rather than our adversaries. USMCA is up for review this year, and our relationships with our next-door neighbors are growing more strained by the day. In fact, this president continues to threaten military action, unilateral military action against Mexico, and of course makes jokes about annexing Canada. We should be doubling down our investments here with our North American allies, not backing away or taking their partnership for granted. The semiconductors that we've talked are the clearest example of how all of this fits together. You know what this state means to the industry. TSMC is here. Intel is here. The CHIPS and Science Act, an amazing bipartisan act, directed historic investments into domestic manufacturing. Arizona's at the center. But we've solved part of that equation, but we've left other parts of the equation unfinished. Most of the critical minerals used in semiconductors are still processed in China. Chips manufactured here are still sent elsewhere for packaging. That means even our domestic manufacturing has choke points that an adversary controls. That's why I'm pushing hard for a CHIPS and Science Act 2.0, because the first round of investment, as significant as it was, didn't complete the supply chain. We're going to need a second phase that addresses the materials and the packaging gaps, invests in workforce even more at scale. That's where ASU comes in. The workforce here that delivered to this industry has been spectacular, but that includes workforce at the community college level and specialized training programs as well. We need to invest in workforce at scale and extends our nearshoring strategy into allied countries in our hemisphere. CHIPS 1.0 built the factories. CHIPS 2.0 needs to build everything else around it. It's essential to win the economic and security battle with China. China has become a top trading partner for Latin American economies right here in our neighborhood, in our hemisphere, exerting influence over critical infrastructure like ports, telecommunication networks, and access to natural resources. Last month, I traveled to Central America with a select committee on the strategic competition with China. We saw the PRC's efforts to build out presence in our hemisphere, from Huawei's dominance in El Salvador to the CCP's demands that Chinese shipping companies, Costco, take a majority stake in ports on the Panama Canal. We have to take this threat seriously and match the CCP's economic might with our own. That's why I've been leading efforts in Congress to work with our allies in Mexico and Latin America to nearshore industries like critical mining processing, mineral processing, and advanced semiconductor packaging, lessening our reliance on China for this national security imperative. The nearshoring strategy, moving upstream and downstream semiconductor capabilities to friendly countries in our hemisphere, makes enormous strategic sense. Mexico is our natural strategic partner. Shared border, shared time zones, deep economic integration under USMCA, a genuine interest in attracting this kind of investment. ASU's English for the Semiconductor Industry program will be a big part of building the human capital that makes this strategy work. ASU's everywhere. It's all over the globe, including in our partner in Mexico. But it has to be partnered and paired with a security strategy that makes investment viable. You cannot build a reliable, secure semiconductor supply chain in regions where cartel violence creates operational risk, corrupts institutions, and undermines rule of law. The security environment in Mexico is not a separate issue from economic opportunity. It is a condition of it. That's why I've pushed for deeper security cooperation with Mexico, including more serious conversation about how we treat cartel violence as a national security issue on both sides of the border, not just a law enforcement matter. I'm working in Congress to deepen our cross-border security partnerships, particularly coordination and data sharing between American and Mexican law enforcement. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel has become arguably the most powerful and violent criminal organization in the Western Hemisphere. Last month, the Mexican military took out El Mencho, its top leader, with intelligence assistance from the United States. That's exactly the kind of cooperation that we need to participate in. Action to take on the cartels has to be taken in partnership with President Sheinbaum and the Mexican government. not by unilateral American military action, as Trump too often suggests. Finally, let me speak about two developments this week that cut to the heart of our American democracy. First is Iran. Following the U.S. and Israeli airstrikes targeting Iranian nuclear infrastructure, ballistic missile capabilities, and senior leadership, the Middle East has entered a genuinely dangerous new phase. Iran is experiencing profound internal instability, competing power centers jockeying for control, the prospect of regime collapse, the potential of civil war with a massive refugee spillover into Turkey and the Gulf region. Meanwhile, Iran's proxies, the Houthis, Hezbollah, Iraqi militias, Hamas remain a wild card. The region is at a genuine hinge point, and leadership from Congress is essential in shaping what comes next. It is not optional. Congressional leadership is essential. The Constitution is not ambiguous about who has the power to take our nation to war. Only Congress has that power. The War Powers Resolution exists precisely for moments like the one that we are in. This week, Congress must have that debate and must have a vote. One person should not have the power to take the United States to war. That is not what our Constitution specifically describes. It says that Congress uniquely has that power. There was another seismic shift in politics and defense this week. Reports have emerged that the Defense Department is pressuring Anthropic, an American AI company, to strip safety guardrails from its systems for use in domestic mass surveillance and autonomous weapons without human oversight. This came just days before the Pentagon used Anthropic's Claude AI tool in strikes against Iran, and weeks after it reportedly used the tools in the operation in Venezuela. This is a massive change. Look, we all support advancements in AI. The United States needs to be the leader in AI development, including on frontier advancement issues. AI technology has potential uses and capabilities. They're still being developed. But the decisions we make about guardrails, oversight, and accountability will shape this technology for a generation. Congress must act, not react. Not after the architecture is built and the contracts are signed. The executive branch does not get to write those rules alone. That is our job, to represent American values in this process. It's past time we did it. Protecting America and our allies as a shifting security environment is an essential bipartisan goal. And I see it every week. I serve on the Foreign Affairs Committee. I serve on that China Select Committee. I'm a Democrat. I don't always agree with my Republican colleagues. They don't always agree with me on approach, and sometimes we disagree sharply. But the goal of creating a strong security environment is shared by Republicans and Democrats. And as long as important global institutions like ASU, King's College in London, University of New South Wales keep producing the kind of sharp, creative, multidisciplinary thinkers that this moment demands, including the next generation, which I know what this conference is focused in on, is developing the next generation of leaders in that area, we have a fighting chance to accomplish that goal. Thank you. I look forward to hearing my friend Lily speak and then having a good conversation. Good to see you.